I prepared my notes in English, so I'll speak in English. First of all, I'd like to thank JST and Dr. Greg Anderson for getting this workshop together. The visitors scholars from the United States, thank you for coming all the way. And also Dr. Watanabe and Dr. Yuka for organizing the detailed panel discussion, which is to follow. I'd like to give my perspective partly as an economist and also administrator who is engaged in broadening participation at a major research university in Japan. First of all, as an economist, I like to point out that gender equality is actually costly. I'm sure many of you have already seen many of these numbers. Potential economic growth from gender equality for the whole world is very big, equal to the GDP of US and China. It's the size of expansion that's possible. Gender equality in Japan can increase GDP by 13%. Gender diversity and financial performance of corporations seem to have positive correlationship. Of course, we have to be careful about correlation and causality, but obviously it's not a bad thing for companies to have gender equality and diversity. And STEM and non-STEM choice explains most college graduate salary differences by gender. So the world, a nation, a firm, and individuals have something to gain by broader participation, gender participation. And this is a graph that is prepared by McKinsey, where we measure per capita income horizontally, and vertically it is gender parity. So complete parity is going to be 1. Unfortunately, there's no nation that actually achieves 1. Japan is around here. The size of the circle indicates the size of female population in the nation. So Japan is somewhere in the midway in terms of both gender parity and income. I think what's important is the size of its female population. So there's a lot of room to grow in case of Japan by achieving gender equality. So what is it going to be? What is actually involved in achieving gender equality? So how do we achieve broader participation? According to the data presented by Dr. Watanabe, gender gap increases dramatically from junior high to tertiary education and then to labor market, the so-called the leaky pipe that Dr. Kaiser also alluded to. When we talk about broadening participation, we need to try to solve the problems within an organization, but also in society as a whole. Now, let's think about women and men making their career choices. They're actually making more than just a career choice. And in fact, a figure like this, where career choice just depends on income, whether you want to be a researcher, non-researcher, what fields do you want to do, and how much household responsibilities you want to undertake, is too simplistic. Choices actually involve far more factors. What kind of education and experience have you had? What kind of healthcare or social welfare do you want access to? Do you want a safe environment? Your self-esteem, how much leisure would you like? And how much discrimination or harassment are you willing to put up with in certain fields, unfortunately, as it holds now? And also, how much housework are you willing to sacrifice or do by taking up certain jobs? All these factors are what determines a career choice for a man or a woman. And now think of, in reality, these decisions are made quite early in women's career, especially in Japan, as it was pointed out by Dr. Watanabe. So getting rid of discrimination from our education system or our workplace is not going to be enough. we need to make that obvious for children and young people before they make up their decision and before adolescence, when belonging to your gender group becomes very important. In Japan, children tend to decide to be STEM or non-STEM when girls are going through puberty, i.e. high school. There, of course, may be genetic or biological differences in capabilities and preferences, but they cannot account for the large differences in gender participation, particularly the large differences in gender equality between countries or between regimes within a country cannot all be explained away by genetic or biological differences. And I think also the data that Dr. Watanabe showed was convinced you in that regard. So what is actually happening here? What should happen? Suppose you're a very young girl or just about to start working, we're just about to start working, and trying to decide which field, profession, or company that you'd like to go into. The answer is obvious. If you saw two companies like this, A or B, these are females in the company. Women are going to be unobservable, And they also make various decisions based on many perceptions, which can be different by individuals. And I think how you address these issues were examples given by Dr. Forbes and Dr. Kaiser, which were done very well. And I'm not going to go over them, but I would like to share a few examples in economics that have been done using randomized experiments, and they're all research in progress. So one example is professors and teachers' gender matters. This is a work by these authors here. So why would this be true? First of all, there are passive effects, the role model effect, just being female, male is going to matter according to your gender. Stereotype threat, female students think girls are not as good at math. And we saw from Dr. Forbes' study that this can be compounded in a more complicated way. Active effect of gender mattering is unintended bias against different gender. What's important here is unintended. People, which is covered in some of Dr. Kaiser's research. Higher assignment evaluation, more response to email questions, call of male students in STEM, for instance, can be one of the active effects of having source of gender mattering. And job applications, research proposals, and evaluations are different according to whether it's male or female, so shown by Dr. Kaiser's work also. Another example of gender mattering, female professor in required first-year STEM classes improved performance of female students in math and science, and it can have longer-term effects as well. Some more evidence here. Mentoring works. Funding by National Science Foundation, Advanced Program, and the American Economic Association has shown through randomly assigned participants in the American Economic Association's mentoring program called CEMENT, which has been going on for quite a number of years, has shown statistically that mentoring has results in significant increase in publications, and success rate are much higher among mentored economists for a much higher success rate in grant applications. And this has been published in the American Economic Association's journal, if you're interested. So what are we doing in Japan? And I'd like to introduce a few projects that Dr. Oh and I have been involved in, and also 2 examples from Kyushu University. There's a Japanese version of the mentoring program running with members of the Japanese Economic Association. It started in 2011 as volunteer work by senior female economists. And we learned from the American experience that actually mentoring is not a natural thing. And to have an effective mentoring system, you actually need to train mentors. And this is the first thing you need to do. Mentoring is a skill that needs to be learned, and it's different from teaching, and having mentors help becoming a good one. The mentoring program in the United States has been going on long enough, so now there are former mentees that are old enough to mentor, they're senior enough to mentor, and they're finding that these people make excellent mentors. Mentoring as a group shows networking among mentors it takes a village kind of attitude. You really need to do it in a group, exchange ideas, evaluate each other. Whether this should be by females or only or not is a big question, although we were advised by the American Economic Association colleagues that for them if mentees were women, the mentors needed to be females also. Our experience, the Japanese Women Economists Network, has shown us how important international cooperation is. We couldn't have started without the assistance of the American Economic Association's mentoring program, which was funded by the NSF, partly funded by the NSF, I believe. And I'd like to add a few words. I'm also Executive Vice President in charge of international at Kyushu University. Having access to the outside world not just helps your research directly, but it gives you access to a network of brand new people and more information in various aspects. So very important to be global, universities to be global now. These are two examples at Kyushu University. We have the positive action about using quotas for women. Since 2009, Kyushu University has advertised internationally specifically for female staff, to recruit female staff. There is always a question of whether quotas are good or not, and there's the stigma of incompetence that always follows. And I think the advice by Dr. Kaiser was that it should be backed up by merit, should be stressed, and it should be backed up by data. And I'm happy to report that when we took the data on the quota recruits, those female researchers that were recruited under the quota system had 0.95 successful research grants. Kakenhi, as you know, is an important research grant. Per person on average among the quota recruits, whereas the overall average for Kyushu University is 0.54 project per person. So these female recruits do almost twice as well as the general population at Kyushu University. And also, 3 of the people who are employed under the quota system have gained the JST Crest projects, which, as you know, are very important, large funding, often leading to further advancement with bigger research funds in the future. So we're very happy about this at Kyushu University. Another thing, byproduct of having this quota system was that female recruitment at Kyushu University has increased overall. So this orange bar here is the number of female researchers recruited at Kyushu University from 2010, according to this quota system. But this much has actually been our females that have been recruited outside the quota system. Partially it's due to the fact that because this quota system is run, each department actually have to pick their own female candidate, and then the department heads actually have to compete against each other to get the female quota funding. So there are few departments that are unable to win the overall university quota system, but found a good female recruit anyway, and went ahead and hired her with their own funds. But it also, I think, the increase in female recruitment reflects the fact that people realize, there might be more work-life balance issues with female researchers, but they see they actually perform very well as a researcher on their own. And this has helped change the perception, as we said, how important perception is at Kyushu University about female recruits. And also, I think we have managed to go over the curse of the incompetence, stigma of incompetence at Kyushu University. And I hope this will be utilized in the rest of the country in the near future. So concluding, Broadening participation pays big time. At Kyushu University, we got 3 Cresto projects and have very productive researchers. As a country, it's going to mean economic growth, perhaps up to 30% of GDP. Broadening participation does not mean forcing women to work outside the home. Broadening participation can be done at the home, changing perception of the younger generation. And perception does matter. We need to more than just being fair. In particular, we probably need to educate parents at home. Scientific research is important for understanding what prevents broadening participation and how to overcome the obstacles that are in place. And we probably need to start by collecting data. Counting number of women in STEM or liberal arts is not going to be enough. We need to know the baseline of potential participants, and successes and the failures need to be kept and backed up by data. And there are many, many things that we can do as researchers, both in the social sciences and in the STEM area. And I cannot stress that it pays everyone to participate in the broadening participation of all genders and all people. Thank you very much for your attention.